Life just kind of happens and it takes turns that you don't expect. There's a lot of hearts involved here. And I'm a mama bear, so I care 100% more.
What happens when a story you thought was over, a bitter divorce that played out for the whole world to see, is suddenly ripped open by an even bigger tragedy? For years, we all watched the contentious split between music superstar Kelly Clarkson and her manager-turned-husband, Brandon Blackstock. It was a messy saga of love, betrayal, and brutal legal fights over money and property. When the dust finally settled, it seemed like they'd both moved on. But nobody could have predicted what was coming next. On August 7th, 2025, the news broke, sending a shockwave through Hollywood. Brandon Blackstock was dead at the age of 48. The announcement was as stunning as it was tragic. In the wake of this, loss. The life he was quietly building away from the spotlight and the new fortune he was creating has come into focus. It's a revelation that has brought his family to tears, unearthing painful secrets and forcing everyone to confront the ghosts of a very public past. What was Brandon Blackstock really up to after his split from Kelly Clarkson? And what is the real legacy he left behind? Stick around as we uncover the story of the inheritance that has everyone talking, a story far more complex than any headline ever suggested. The news came out of nowhere, a somber headline that seemed to stop the entertainment world in its tracks. Brandon Blackstock, the man known to millions as Kelly Clarkson's ex-husband and the former stepson of country legend Reba McEntire, had passed away. He was only 48 years old, a stark reminder of just how fragile life is. The cause of death, according to a family statement, was a private, 3-year battle with cancer. Think about that for a second. For 3 years, while the world dissected every court filing and rumored fight from his divorce, Brandon was quietly fighting for his life. He was navigating one of the most public splits in recent memory while carrying the immense weight of a devastating health crisis. It's a detail that completely recasts the entire story. The anger and bitterness of the court proceedings suddenly take on a new, tragic light. You have to wonder how that secret struggle influenced his decisions and his fights during those final years. The family's statement said he died peacefully, surrounded by loved ones. This picture of a quiet passing stands in stark contrast to the loud chaos of his public life. It paints a picture of a man who, in his final moments, was simply a father, a son, and a brother. For Kelly Clarkson, the news was undoubtedly a shock. Despite all the pain from the end of their marriage, he was still the father of her 2 children, River Rose and Remington Alexander. Her immediate response was that of a protective mother. Reports quickly surfaced that she had postponed her Las Vegas residency shows. It was a clear signal. Her focus wasn't on the stage, but on her children. Her priority was to wrap her arms around them and guide them through the grief of losing their father, shielding them from the inevitable media storm. The stage could wait, her children couldn't. To really understand the complicated emotions surrounding Brandon's passing, we have to rewind. Before the tragic loss, there was a brutal war. The story of Kelly Clarkson and Brandon Blackstock wasn't just a breakup. It was the slow, painful, and public dismantling of a life they'd built together. Their love story started like a fairy tale. They married in 2013 in a beautiful Tennessee ceremony, a union of music royalty. He wasn't just her husband, but also her manager, a partnership that blended love and business. They had 2 children and built a life that looked perfect from the outside, complete with a sprawling Montana ranch that would later become a huge point of contention. Then, in June 2020, the fairy tale shattered. Kelly filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. What followed was a 2-year legal firestorm. At the heart of it all were their children and their money, and the numbers involved were staggering. When the final judgment came down in March 2022, the details were laid bare. Court documents showed Kelly was ordered to pay Brandon a one-time tax-free payment of just over $1.3 million. But that was just the start. She also had to pay him spousal support of $115,000 every single month until January 2024. And then there was child support. For their two kids, River and Remy, the court ordered Kelly to pay Brandon $45,601 a month until they turn 18. These weren't just numbers on a page, they were the financial blueprint of their separation, calculated from the lavish lifestyle they once shared. The divorce was a grueling process that left deep scars on everyone. The money was one thing, but the fight between Kelly and Brandon got intensely personal, spiraling into conflicts that were about more than just dollars. They were about principle and betrayal. The two key battlegrounds became their Montana ranch and millions of dollars in career commissions. The ranch was more than just property. It was their sanctuary. For Kelly, it was a retreat. During the divorce, it became a major issue. Brandon continued to live there after they split, arguing he needed it for his new career as a rancher. The legal battle was messy, but in the end, the court sided with Kelly. She got sole ownership of the ranch, a huge victory that secured the home holding so many family memories. But an even bigger fight was brewing, one that hit the heart of their professional relationship. Kelly filed a petition with the California Labor Commission, arguing that Brandon and his family's company, Starstruck Management Group, had acted as unlicensed talent agents. She claimed the millions in commissions she'd paid for deals like The Voice, and her own talk show should be returned. In November 2023, a bombshell ruling came down. The labor commissioner sided with Clarkson, delivering a stunning blow to Blackstock. The ruling declared that Blackstock had, in fact, acted as an unlicensed agent and ordered him to pay back $2,641,374. This wasn't just a financial loss, it was a professional rebuke. The verdict was a decisive win for Kelly, but it was also the final nail in the coffin of their shared history. The case was eventually settled confidentially in May 2024, drawing a quiet end to a very loud war. This story is incredibly complex, with so many emotional and financial layers tangled together. The legal battles were intense, and the personal stakes were unbelievably high. What are your thoughts on this contentious divorce? Do you think the settlements were fair? Let us know what you think in the comments below. And if you're finding this story as compelling as we are, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. While the world was glued to the divorce drama, Brandon Blackstock was quietly doing something no one saw coming. He was starting over. He was building a new life and, with it, a new fortune. This is the chapter of his life very few people knew about. The story that unfolded in the wide-open spaces of Montana, far from the media. And it's this untold story that makes up the legacy that has now brought his family to tears. After the court decision that forced him to leave the ranch he shared with Kelly, Brandon didn't just move down the road, he doubled down on his new life. He pivoted away from music management and leaned into his identity as a Montana man. He reinvented himself not as Kelly Clarkson's ex-husband, but as a respected local businessman. His new ventures were rooted in the American West. He launched the Valley View Rodeo, a company that brought the tradition of rodeo to his community. He also established the Headwaters Livestock Auction, a business that put him right at the center of the local ranching economy. These weren't the glamorous deals of Hollywood, but they were real businesses he was building from scratch. And he wasn't alone. He was often seen with his new partner, Brittany Marie Jones, who was reportedly involved in these ventures with him. Together, they were creating a future that was completely separate from the life he had before. He was no longer just a name. In a headline, he was a presence in his community. This is the secret fortune the title of this video is talking about. It's not a hidden vault of cash. The fortune was the empire he was building. The businesses, the reputation, and the new life he forged from the ashes of his public divorce. The secret is that most of the world, consumed by the drama with Kelly, completely missed it. We were all looking backward at the wreckage, while he was quietly looking forward. The shock, for his family, wasn't a surprising number in a bank account. It was the tragic realization that this promising new chapter he was writing for himself was cut so brutally short. So when the news of his death broke, the tears his family shed weren't just about a will or a bank account. They were for the loss of a father, a son, and for the man he was becoming after surviving one of the most public divorces in recent history. The true inheritance he left behind isn't something you can measure in dollars. It's a legacy of complicated emotions, unanswered questions, and deep grief. You have to think about the complex family he leaves behind. He has 2 older children, Seth and Savannah, from his first marriage. They had already been through their parents' divorce, only to watch their father's second marriage fall apart in the public eye. Now they've lost their father at such a young age, after seeing him go through so much. And then there are River Rose and Remington Alexander, his 2 young children with Kelly. They're at an age where it's hard to grasp the full weight of this tragedy. They've lost their dad, but they have to process this loss in the shadow of their parents' very public and bitter fight. Kelly Clarkson is now faced with the impossibly hard task of helping her children grieve for a man with whom she shared so much anger. How do you honor the memory of a father for your children when your own memories are so tangled in legal battles? This is the true inheritance. For his kids, it's a collection of beautiful memories mixed with the painful public record of their family's fracture. The tears being shed are for the man they knew, for the future he was trying to build, and for the profound silence his absence leaves behind. This isn't a story about money. It's a human tragedy about loss and the complicated, messy reality of family. Naturally, with any high-profile death, especially one this complicated, everyone wants to know about the legalities. The question on everyone's mind is, what happens now? Who inherits the new businesses Brandon Blackstock built in Montana? The honest answer is, we don't know. And we might not know for a while. Unlike a divorce, a person's will is private. The legal process of settling an estate can take months, even years. Any report claiming to know the specifics of his will right now is just speculation. Legally, if there's no will stating otherwise, a person's assets typically pass to their children. In this case, that would mean his 4 children, Seth, Savannah, River, and Remy. But the how and how much remain behind closed doors. This brings us to the elephant in the room. How will Kelly Clarkson handle this? Her response so far has been a powerful silence. Sources close to her have emphasized that Kelly's only focus right now is on her children. Her priority is not the inheritance or the public chatter. It's shielding River and Remy from the overwhelming scrutiny and helping them navigate their own grief. In a world that demands a reaction to everything, her silence is a deliberate choice. It's the choice of a mother building a wall around her children to protect them. After years of public battles, she is choosing peace. Her stance isn't indifference, it's fierce maternal protection. She is focused on the emotional well-being of her children, a task that now falls entirely on her shoulders in a way she never could have imagined. We've reached the end of a deeply complicated story, one that went from a fairy tale wedding to a brutal public divorce and ended in sudden tragedy. We've walked through the shocking news of Brandon Blackstock's death, revisited the multi-million-dollar battles of his split from Kelly Clarkson, and uncovered the new life he was quietly building in Montana. It's clear that the tears his family are shedding aren't for a lost bank account, but for a lost future. They are for a father, a son, and a man who was reinventing himself, only to have his story cut tragically short. The inheritance he leaves behind is one of complex emotions, a fractured family legacy, and 2 young children who must now grow up without their father. It's a somber reminder that behind every headline, there are real people